we have to create the right vibe, you know, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at PurelyArsenalFP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome to another Purely Arsenal podcast. And no, I haven't offed Jack and buried him in my back garden. He is still very much around. And as Arnold Schwarzenegger says, he will be back. But unfortunately, you're going to have to make do with me again. And so sorry for you guys, but that's the way it rolls sometimes. So last time we did the pod slightly differently, and we want to kind of carry on in that same vein while Jack isn't around to host these. And before I start off and kick off with anything, I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone who interacts with the pod. So people who ask questions, people who like and retweet, but also just as a little bit of a throwback, I just want to thank everyone who has contributed in the past. We had some regulars on, we had some people who came on for the 1 or 2 shows. And I just want to say a big thanks to them all, the people who have worked behind the scenes. And without all of that, it wouldn't be happening. You know, all right, you might see 3 or 4 faces now on a regular basis when we do, stream these or record these. But essentially, it's a bigger team's job. And I just want to say a big heartfelt thanks to absolutely everyone who does it. You know, if I start naming names, I'll always miss someone out, and then that will do my OCD, and it won't be fair. So I just want to say a general thank you to everyone. And it's because of that, it nicely leads on to how we're going to run the pod today. So what we're going to do as a kind of thank you and a spotlight for the you guys, the listeners, we're just literally going to answer, because we were very thankful and very lucky to get quite a few questions on the back of recording or Jack announcing that we're going to record this pod. So what we're going to do, we're just basically going to focus on answering those questions, and then the 3 of us will maybe give a little summary of what we thought of the brilliant and emphatic win against Leicester at the weekend. So I have 2 very, very special people to help do that. Firstly, we have, it's a bit like a bus. You don't see them for a while, and then a few come along all at the same time. We have the one and only Michael Harris.
Hello. Another top intro. Thanks, mate. I don't know what's going on. The kids are quiet. If I have to dash off, it's probably because something's kicked off upstairs. So, great to be back. Good to speak to you guys. And, looking forward to the questions.
Great to have you, Michael. And, of course, last but not least, we have Mr. Pod himself, LL, Mr. James Johnstone. Thank you for joining.
Oh, yeah. Good to be back with you two, especially. I mean, like you said, thank you to everybody. And the response we got, we all panicked. We all thought, oh, God, without Jack, how are we going to steer this ship? And, we did okay. Well, better than okay. I think it went down really, really well. So thank you, everybody. And thank you, too, as well,
No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And I just also actually want to say thank you to you, James, because you said some very nice things about how it was mainly the Purely Arsenal pod that allowed you to come back into the fray of podcasting and things. And they were very nice words, and we're all very humbled and touched by that. So thank you to you. Yeah, well,
I was borderline blacklisted for a while, so and then you guys allowed me back. I can't even remember what I said that made people take me away. Okay, I wasn't a very big Wenger fan towards the end, but I don't think I was as bad as some of the others. But their
loss is our gain. Their loss is our gain, as they say.
Thank you.
There you go. So what we're going to do, we're going to dive right into the questions. I may answer a couple, or I don't know how it's going to work. We've never done it like this before. We're going to see how it rolls.
Can I just interrupt you?
Yes, of course.
Can I just stop you in your flow? Sorry. I just, we can't let this day pass. It's a momentous day. A day that'll be long remembered. I can't see it anywhere on the Sky Sports News or anything else. They're talking about some other big news that's happened to them. But today, really amazing this, 5,000 days since Tottenham last won a trophy. I've actually mentioned, this is the first time I'm going to mention their name because it's such a significant achievement. 5,000 days, 13 years without a trophy. I think if you're listening to this pod in the car, if you've got a bottle in your car, if you're listening to this at work, get a glass or whatever and raise a toast, because that is that is something else. That is something else. Long may it continue.
Yes, 5,000 more, please. Yeah, thank you.
That's all. I had to. We got to show respect.
Brilliant.
You know, in that instance.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Bukayo Saka was an 8-year-old child when they last won. Instagram and Snapchat didn't exist. Neil, what you're talking to us on, that didn't even, an iPad didn't exist then.
James, you didn't have hair. You didn't have hair.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
And now look at you.
Yeah, I know.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I had an afro. I actually had an afro last time I won a trophy.
Wow.
Believe it or not.
Did you have a microphone? You know, when the Simpsons, when they go back and they show the Doctor in the olden days, he had that microphone. Do you know, is it a bit like that, Michael?
Yeah, with the afro cone stuck in it. Yeah, and everything as well. Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Fabulous. Oh, bless.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Jack still hosted the pod back then. I'm joking. He'll be back. I promise.
I don't think I think I was sort of talking about this. This is far funnier, even though our performance was so impressive. But oh god, this is great. All right, so let's kick off. I don't know who I'm going to go with first. So do you know what? Let's start from the top. Let's start from the man himself. So Jack has come in and says he doesn't want to be completely forgotten, and he's asked the question himself. So I'm going to say it's just read it out, and then either one of you two can decide who wants to take it. So he says, obviously talking about the Arsenal-Leicester performance, he said, is the kind of performances we are seeing start fast and then sit into a low block sustainable to achieve what we want this season? We have an XG, expected goals against, ranking 17th in the league, I believe. So clearly it will give a lot of chances still. Despite our resilience, I worry that we become far too passive and deep far too early in games, and such heroics from Gabriel, Ramsdale and co are unsustainable. So he's asking, this kind of falling back, sitting back, going a little bit more passive as we have done in recent times. Is that going to be sustainable? Do you think it will be our Achilles heel? He's just asking what our thoughts are on that. So whoever wants to go for that one, go for it.
I'll let you go, James. Let you
Yeah. So for me, I think you ride it until obviously it gets proven otherwise. I hate to be so dismissive of it. For me, I think at the moment, if you said to me that we're going to play Aston Villa with Buendia, Ings and Watkins, and neither of them are going to score, and we're going to play Leicester with Maddison, Daka, Iheanacho, Vardy and Barnes, and they're not going to score, I would have thought you were deluded. But seeing what we're doing, I do think a lot of it is riding your luck, but at the same time, luck is an element, but at the same time as well, so a lot of it is preparation and timing. And a lot of it goes to a man who's probably going to get mentioned in this podcast a lot. I know you, Neil, are going to mention him way more than probably anyone else on this podcast is going to mention him. But I think Aaron Rat, I saw people that were Leicester fans on Twitter going, "Oh, you only won that game because you're a goalkeeper." I'm like, well, yeah, mainly when you keep a clean sheet, it's because your goalkeeper's done it. That's sort of why you have a goalkeeper. That's what he's there for. So, and again, this guy at the moment has given that back four such a monumental lift. I think Gabriel as well is another big link. I think the two in the middle protecting them are brilliant as well at the moment. And I kept saying about all these players we've played against, and we've kept the clean sheets and the shutouts against them. If we go to Anfield and stop Salah, Mane and Firmino from getting a goal, that's for these the next test. If we go and do that, then boy, oh boy, they're better than I think they are now. And I already think they're good. So, yeah, it's just a case of you just run with it until, obviously, I mean, this is it. We haven't been a side that, for me, plays for 90 minutes for a very, very long time, because I think the style isn't fully ingrained into all the players because they've had to chop and change so much. You mentioned it, Neil. You said there's too many and there's no... Now we're seeing partnerships being formed. These are going to be in there, hopefully, touch wood, none of them get hurt until at least Boxing Day, when, again, we mentioned it last time about the African Cup of Nations. All these partnerships are going to be solidified. And so that, as long as that stays the same and that stays consistent, hopefully we just keep riding the wave of luck, or whatever you want to call it, for as long as we can.
Can I just add? I agree. I completely agree. I don't think it's just a matter of luck. I think I'm going back to George Graham days, and I've probably mentioned this a few times before, so I apologise. But I think he came in to the job and he first wanted to make sure the defence was working correctly, and he built from the back going forwards. And I think kind of like this is a similarity with what Arteta's doing. I think he wanted to make sure the defence is working, it's connecting, moving forward. And although yes, we had to defend very well. We had to be very resilient in the second half. It was like a game of two halves, but actually the first time I've seen a game of two halves from Arsenal in a very long time where actually both were positives. You had the attacking first half, and then you had the defensive second half on the whole. And that resilience is Ramsdale was just out of this world. There's no doubt about it. But I still think the defenders done a really good job as well. And in a way, it's good experience for them. Leicester are no mugs. They're a good blooming team. And everyone was going, I was reading reports afterwards, as usually in the media, Leicester, off the ball, they didn't really start well. I'm saying, no, hang on a minute. We played good to stop them from playing well. It's not about they were rubbish. We played well. So you can't take that away from us. It's like we just cannot win as far as the media's concerned. We can play brilliantly. The other teams played rubbish.
Do you know what? So, I missed the first half because I was travelling to go watch Dagenham and Redbridge. So I had to listen to the first half on the radio. I've watched it back since. But that was the only time. And it was Clive Tildesley, who we all know he's a closet Man United fan. I can't stand the guy. And he had Trevor Sinclair on there with him. I've never really been a big fan of Trevor Sinclair as a pundit, but he actually was the only one who went, can I just say here that this is not Leicester have been terrible. This has been Arsenal, in a way, a masterclass from Arsenal that has stopped this. And I was like, do you know what? Finally someone, and it was someone who I never would have expected it to come from, has actually bigged us up. So yeah, I will throw that out there, that there seems to be a change in the guard of praising us for how well we're actually doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I put a tweet out saying it's very Wenger-esque this first half, and people going, no, but it's all Arteta, but they're missing the point. It's actually a compliment to Arteta that he's getting the players to almost play that Wenger type of style, which we all came to love, and it's gone down in history as, an epic era for us. So I think I was really glad to see the second half, and I actually really am pleased that we can do both sides of the coin. Yeah, and I think Jack's sort of point, how far can we take that? How resilient can we be? But we won't know until that time comes. So long may it continue. So let's move on to the next question. I'm sorry, I know it sounds really, it looks really unprofessional. I'm sitting here reading them, but I don't know them off by heart. And Michael,
did you want to add anything to that, Michael, or did you not?
No, I'll just say, Neil said...
Oh, sorry, Michael.
No, it's all right, mate. It just said we'll ride it until that time comes. I think that time's going to come at Anfield. And then we'll see exactly if this, low block or whatever you want to call it, if we're able to spring in. Because, we've got to remember, we're away from home. We're against a good side. We're not going to be the only team that's going to go to Leicester and do what they did. Man United did it when they got thumped 4-2. They sat back, counter-attacked as such. Second half, they tried to press and they couldn't do it. We sort of did it the other way around. We pressed them, we imposed, and we got our results. We're not the only team that's going to go and do stuff like that. And the goalkeeper is inspired. How many times have we played against teams and goalkeepers have won man of the match awards because they've just been unbelievable? I remember one game I watched, I think West Ham beat us 1-0, I think. And Rob Green saved absolutely everything. And he got a standing ovation when he actually walked off the pitch from the Arsenal fans that were still staying there. It happens. I just hope with Ramsdale it happens more often than not. But I agree with what you both said. We just have to be a bit smarter. Hopefully, if we do this low block, we've got to make these counter-attacks when we get them. We've got to make it count. We've got to make it stick up there. And whether that's with players coming off the bench, whether that's a Pepe or Martinelli, we've got to make it count, because if we don't, if we do sit back, we are going to run out of luck one night, and we'll concede. But it's it's good to be talking like this in this situation, that we're actually, getting results rather than it being the other way around. Because we were talking about the other way around. We were playing this way, this inviting pressure, when we weren't doing anything up top. We weren't getting the results. So, I think Anfield is going to be the one where we see if this is the right way to go or not.
No, I completely agree. And don't forget, we recently beat them at Anfield, albeit there was no crowd, but we did beat them. Remember? So, and they were a good side then. It wasn't as if they had rubbish players. So anything is possible. Anyway, right, let's get into the listeners' questions. This one is from, I hope I can say this right, Gung Ho Gooner, I think it is. So thank you so much for your question. And again, a lot of these listeners, often interact and ask questions and make comments and things. So thank you once again to you. So he's saying, how good is our goalkeeper? Oh, this could be it. I'm going to give it to Michael though. But on a serious note, for me, we need to extend Laka. His role is bringing so much out of the youngsters and gives them a much needed platform to excel. He also brings the best out of Oba, in my opinion. Do you think we should extend Michael?
It's tough. I mean, I think I personally think we're in the summer we're going to go big. I think maybe James, you mentioned before in the chat, in the WhatsApp chat. I think we're going to go big for a striker in the summer. I think that's going to be the last piece, and that type of physical, mobile. A bit more mobile than Laka, obviously, a bit of pace, who can run in behind. I think that's the type of guy we're going to get. There's a couple that spring to mind, but I won't say who they are. But if we can't obviously get the key target, I think if Laka's happy in playing limited minutes, I think we would take him. Try and sign him if we could. But right now, I would sign him. I would offer him another a year or 2 years, and then in that time, if you do bring someone in, then if it doesn't work, you've got someone on the side who can come in and maybe take the reins, so to speak, while that person settles into the system. But I would. He's always been professional. Like I said, he's had one little dalliance off the pitch, which. Was in the papers, but other than that, you never hear him moan. He comes on, he always tries. He had one season, I think half a season, where he looked really off the ball. He looked a little bit unfit and a little bit heavy. But the guys, you can see he's loved by the players, the young guys. Emma Smith-Rowe, Saka always rave about him, what he does on the training pitch, and that's what we want. He's one of the pillars now. David Luiz is gone. So we've got this young team, the youngest team in the Premier League. Why would you want to take away one of those pillars who seems happy there, playing and contributing with his experience, everything to impart onto the next generation coming through? So I would like to keep him on if it was down to me. Yeah.
Another good point as well with Lacazette is that we all know how good he is, but he still never gets picked for France. And I don't think he ever will, because Deschamps likes to have that target man for, he's brought Benzema back in the fold when it looked like Benzema would never play for France ever again. And that's a benefit, because we could go out and we could spend, 35, maybe 50 million. Arteta's not signed a centre forward yet. He signed a winger in Willian, and we all know how that went. So this will be a massive test for him, is to buy a centre forward, because, like you said, it's the last piece of that jigsaw, really, of how we want to go. And if we buy, a 35 to 50 million plus striker, you're saying you won't mention names, Michael. I'm not afraid to mention names. Calvert-Lewin's one. He's injured at the moment, but he gets picked for England. He could get hurt on international duty, and then we're back to square one again. Ivan Toney's another one that people throw out there. He's not quite yet in the international fold, but he definitely will be because of how classy he is. He's that good, in my opinion. And, that's a worry, is that if we get someone of that calibre that does play internationals, there's those extra games that they'll burn out with. With Lacazette, that's a safe option. That's a guy that, has worked with these young players. They're getting better with him. They're going to get better even more so with him there as well. I think, for me, you give him another year, and then at the end of next season, you'd probably say to him and maybe the captain, Aubameyang, they're probably both going to go. That'll be the end for them both. And then you go with a completely new front line that, is developed. Because like we said last week, of course I want him to stay because I love Pepe to bits. But, I think he's on last legs as well. And then that's all that most expensive strike force in the Premier League ever. All three of them that we had, they're all going to go. And it's a rebuild again of the front. Like you said just a minute ago, Neil, he started building from the back and then he's going to go to the front. And that's it now. He's going to build a whole new front line, potentially.
Yeah. No, I just want to applaud Laka, actually. I think the cameo at Crystal Palace has done him the world of good. Getting that,
100%.
That equaliser is almost like sparked him into life. It's almost like rejuvenated him. It's sent something coursing through his body. It's clear that he does love being here. He's enjoying it. He's got that great rapport with Aubameyang. I think they enjoy playing together as well. As Michael and both of you have mentioned, he's fantastic for the kids or the younger players. I shouldn't call them kids, really. The younger players, and a great mentor. And he's strong. What we see of him, he's at the moment, he's almost keeping Odegaard out of the team. Him cutting back and going a bit deeper inside, and he's just making a nuisance of himself, frustrating the defenders, bamboozling them, and just being that hard body there, which can hold players off and can create things and be that link man almost. So I love him to bits, and I just hope he can carry on doing what he can, at least for this season. Then we'll have to wait to see, as you guys have alluded to, and see what happens in the summer. But no, that's a great question, and thank you for that question from, again, I'll try and say, I think it's Gung Ho Guna, so thank you for that. So let's move on to, it's Monsieur. I think do I need to say the ats? I hope you guys know who you are. I'm sorry, I haven't got my glasses on and they're so difficult to read. Maybe James can have a look at them later just to say thank you. But
you've got it right. He's regularly involved. He always,
he's regularly. No, I just wanted to try and read his ad, but I can't. It's just too small for me. I'm really too old, James. But basically, it's almost like it's not a question. It's a statement, but it is a question. We can talk about him. He's saying, why aren't opposition teams attacking more down our left side? Gabriel. Absolutely love Gabriel for being such a bully. It's just not fair on rival attackers. Brilliant signing. So it's a fantastic statement stroke question. I think he's just mentioning Gabriel and how good he's been ever since he's like come back into the fold. So James or Michael, do you want to have a quick mention of it and see what your thoughts are on Gabriel and how he's done so far? You want to go for that one, James?
Yeah. Since he's come back, he's been amazing. He's been absolutely amazing. You used to rave about the old Brazilian Gabriel, but this guy's new and improved, and he's even better. And again, I just go back to, we need to form the partnerships, and him and Ben White's partnership at the moment is absolutely brilliant. To touch on the first goal, again, he scored that brilliant header against Benfica. I think Jack tweeted about it, about how good he is at doing this sort of looping backwards type header that he's doing. And it's a really, really good goal. But for me, it's Ben White's run that drags Tielemans away from him, that makes him go, right, I've got the space now. And so you can tell there's something in there with them two, that everyone's coming together. And he's been amazing. And a lot of people said, if Aubameyang, for whatever reason, does go down and everything else, obviously Lacazette's going to have the armband probably when he's in the Cup of Nations. But if Lacazette's not on that pitch, who are you going to give the armband to? I know there's a certain someone from Switzerland that might be back by then that might want to go for the armband. But for me, we all talked about Tierney, but I think you've got to give it Gabriel. That guy. And I don't even know how good his command of English is. Still, I've not seen him come out there and do anything much. I know that I've seen him do a few basic words and phrases here and there, but he is absolutely sensational. I don't
think he needs to say anything, James.
Probably doesn't know. He speaks the game, and that's enough. That's the best.
Yeah.
That's the best compliment you could. I mean, if Ramsdale didn't do what he did, he'd have been man of the match. If Ramsdale didn't pull off half those saves that he did, I mean, there's the one that we'll probably touch on later, but there's more than that one. There's so many in that game that he did. But Gabriel's absolutely sensational. What a signing and what a player.
And a near post, again, that set piece coach is doing wonders. Another corner, goal from a corner, near post, Saka assist. What more can you want? It's working, isn't it? It's definitely working. So, no, great stuff from Monsieur. Thank you for answering that one.
Michael, again, sorry, did you have anything, Michael?
No, just.
I keep feeling we've excluded him.
just jump in.
No.
I'm not as fluid as Jack is, so I apologise. But just jump in if there's
just touching on exactly what you said and what I said last week. Just since he's come back, he just looks like he's taken the responsibility. He's like the other statesman back there and taken over the reins of what David Luiz is there and and looks like he wants to defend, takes it personally if, Michael Jordan reference, takes it personally if someone even has a shot or beats him to a header or something. And, when he makes a clearance, like I said, they're all high-fiving and it's from him. And obviously, sparking off Ramsdale, and it's just getting everyone going. So, he's been immense. He's been absolutely immense. And
they all look like, from the fact that they just want to play, and it's almost like their goal, no pun intended, is to keep a clean sheet. And it's like scoring a goal. If you get a clean sheet, it's like scoring a goal, and that looks like their mission. And it's like they all want to be part of that. And as good as the defenders are, Tommy as well, and Tavares, all of them. Tierney, unfortunately, I'm sure he'll get back in the team. At the moment, I think Tavares is keeping him out, or he's doing as good a job as he possibly can be asked to do. But I think it also helps that when you've got a keeper as blindingly as good as Ramsdale, that's going to help the defender's confidence as well. And that's a massive thing. So I think all good. Long may it continue as far as I'm concerned. And, en route to the quad as far as I'm concerned too. As you all know, I always go on about. Melvin, good friend of the pod and a good lad. He asks, do we sit... okay, so it's a little bit like what Jack was talking about. He's saying, do we plan to sit back after taking the initiative, or is it a fatigue issue? Michael, why don't you go for that one?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the things... I was thinking as well, when James was answering. It could be that. But no, Arteta is probably some tactical master plan that he's trying to see how it pans out. But yeah, I think there are going to be teams where you're going to have to play like that and just sit off them a little bit, and there are going to be other teams where you press on a bit. You put you sort of make a statement in terms of the game and press up a lot higher for a lot longer, even if you are 2 goals up. So. But yeah, I mean, I guess it could be a fatigue thing, because obviously the games that we've had, we had the Monday and then we had the Friday, and then so not being that greater. Days of rest in terms of compared to other teams. But then, you think Leicester played in the League Cup on the same night as we did. So it could be that. It could be fatigue. But I think you can get away with that, if you're playing against lesser opposition. But the other end, we've got to be a bit more cuter and clinical going the other way, because if you're getting all that pressure, just one goal on the break, totally kills the momentum of the team who's they can have all the possession they want after that, but you've just increased that lead, and you see it out. But yeah, it could be that could be a factor, could be a big factor.
For me, I still think the main thing is that the guy's inexperienced. He has the knowledge book from being under so many of these. Obviously he played under Arsene. He's gone and done what he did at City. He was raised in the Barcelona academy. He spent time, at Rangers, tough league. This was when Scottish football was a lot more competitive than it is now. It was going, tough games up there and everything else. And he was at Everton for a long time, and they were a tough side to beat back then when they were when they were doing what they were doing under Moyes. And I think when he has someone that obviously outthinks what he's done, he errs on the side of caution. But I think now that we're actually sort of blowing teams away, and I think he's slightly learning, right, okay, maybe I can sustain it a bit longer before I revert back to, shut the game down and everything else like that. You know, I mean, when we brought Odegaard and everything on, obviously it slowed it down a bit because Odegaard likes to control it and take a few more touches and spread it around and everything else like that. So I think it's going to come with time. And hopefully it will be, you know, this Sunday, because I think that's a team there that, you know, okay, their last away performance wasn't bad, but we should be going out there and giving these a good 3 or 4.
No, I completely agree with him, and you know, well answered, and nothing more I can add. Really, I think that's the way to look at it. I just think I've got a good, strong belief now in the way he's doing it. I really did waver, as you know, especially you two, especially, you know, when we were on our WhatsApp group, and I was really concerned about where is he going with us and what are we doing. But the last few games, I think there is something to be said about what he's trying to achieve. However, I'm still erring on caution, and we've still got to not get too carried away. And I think we should all just take one game at a time. I think, as Michael said earlier, I mean, I'm not too worried about the game this weekend, although all due respect to Watford. But I think the Anfield one is going to be a massive, massive test, and we'll see how we do. And if we come away with a point, even a point, that's a massive thing for us.
And it's not just Anfield; it's the one after it, because if rumours are to be believed, he's got to play old Unai again.
Yeah.
That for me is another massive. You know, if he loses again to Unai, I think a lot of people might have the daggers back out for him. Especially if we, if we get spanked at Anfield, I think that it's going to create a hostile atmosphere there for him.
Yeah, let's not think about it. Let's celebrate what's been happening, and we've had a good
100%.
run.
No, 100%.
And we're going to spank Watford and Liverpool. Don't you worry about that, James. So let's move on to another question from Brett Paul Stevenson. I think it is also contributes regularly to the pod. Thank you for that. And he's saying, okay, so just going on what I said, that's weird. He said, I'm still not convinced by the manager. I think the players are getting the results for him. Discuss. So that's an interesting. Who wants to go for that one? Both of you silent. Do you want me to take it? Michael? No, he's keeping himself on mute.
That's a funny one. I think it's weird. We've gone through a roller coaster since he's been there. You know, I think when he first came in, he had the run, and then it stopped, and then it had the run again. Won the cup. It looked like he had everyone playing for him. Then there was a period where it looked like no one wanted to play for him, and we had that run again. We lost to Villa. We lost to Burnley. We lost to Wolves. You know, all at home. And then start of the season, it looked like, you know, he's lost the dressing room. No one wants to play. He doesn't know what he's doing. And now we've gone on this run. I think the players that he's got in, especially the likes of Tomiyasu and Ben White, especially are playing for him. And they're playing because, one, you know, they're at Arsenal Football Club, and he's obviously shown belief in them that he wants them to be part of this. I hate the word project, but part of this plan to, you know, this process. I hate that word as well. So, you know, to get to where we want to be, where we all want to be, back in the Champions League, and, you know, sitting at the top table and just hoping beyond hope we actually do something in a competition and do something, you know, in the league as well. So I think that those players have sparked off. Again, it's all energy and momentum and sparking things off with different people, and seeing someone come in showing some desire to actually, you know, win a tackle and not get beat and win their battle, and then that goes off to someone else and someone else and someone else. You know, they're up for it. I need to be up for it. Otherwise, if I'm not meeting this standard, I'm out. You know, I'm out of the team, and they'll get someone else in. And that's all it takes. It just takes people to have accountability. And we've been screaming about it for years on there, about players having accountability. Wenger used to just let them get away with loads of stuff. You know, he said chuck in a 8 out of 10 performance at home against someone, and then we go away and we just think the place out. And he'll let them get away with it. They'll all start the following week. Now, you know that they've hit this level. We've got this run. Anyone that comes in has got to hit that level as well. Otherwise, you're out. And that is, whatever you can call it what you want. You can call it playing for the manager, or playing for yourself. But if the key thing for me is, if you're a player, you play a game. The key thing is you're not playing for the manager. You're playing for yourself, and you don't want to let yourself down. Because if you let yourself down, you're letting your family and friends down, your circle of friends, the bigger circle of friends, people that know you. Oh shit, he's not playing well, and that bleeds into your kids going to school and everything. So if you turn up and you do the performances, that will knock on to you doing well for the team, for the whole collective. That goes on to you doing well for the manager and the fans and the club. So for me, play for yourself. Don't let yourself down, because if you don't let yourself down, everything else will fall into place, and that's whether you're playing for the manager or not. So I think they are playing for him. I think they bought into this system and this way of playing. And I'm worried. The only thing I'm worried about is, as James said, anyone gets injured. Because then maybe the level might drop a little bit, because these partnerships have been so good. What happens if someone's out of that for 3 or 4 games? Maybe one game might be all right, but if they're injured for 3 or 4 games, then maybe the level might drop. But that's the only worry. But I think they're playing for him. I think at the moment they're playing for him. But I'd say
I think so. And the injury thing is a massive worry. It's like we are cursed with it, aren't we? We used to remember even in the Wenger days, before he was, people were turned on him and were very, very nasty to him. We had a few seasons where we were still kind of knocking on the door, finishing quite high up in the table, maybe even competing for the league title. And we'd have a really good run up to maybe January, February, and then we would not get an injury, we'd get key injuries. And that would just destabilise the whole team. And that's been my fear. I've not been saying it because I'm always trying to be so positive, and we're going to just run through everything now and win the league even this season. But deep down, I'm thinking, my God, they're playing so well together. I mean, I even see it in substitutions. I think, when he might make a substitution at 65, 70 minutes, and a couple of players come off who've been doing so well, and it changes the balance of the team immediately. And can you imagine that if there's an injury, God forbid, if there isn't one, how is that going to affect the rest of the team? Because at the moment they seem to be all very, I don't know, just working for each other in such a great way. That word I can never say, James, telepathically. Got it. Yeah. Telepathically. They seem to be working like that at the moment.
For me, I think it's a bit of both. I've still got reservations about the manager. I think most people do. But at the moment, like you said, with everything that's going on, and also I've played devil's advocate in that Leeds game. We made 9 changes, and I don't think the drop off in individual qualities, obviously there. We all know that they're nowhere near as good as the people, but in terms of the style and everything else, it didn't drop that much.
Great point.
It didn't drop that much, especially with 9 changes. And you know what? It's not the days of where you could lose your Ashley Cole and you could lose your Sol or your Torre, and then there's Senderos and Flamini that get you to a Champions League final. It's not like that, because all the others were so bed in that they could carry the rest of them. But we're getting to that sort of, if we keep going on this little run, I'm not trying to get overly carried away, but if we keep going on this run and we keep doing what we're doing and getting results, when someone like, I don't mean to single out players or what have you, but say, something happened to Ben White and Rob Holding would need to come in. Him and Gabriel would be okay. Tommy Asu and him would be okay. The main one at the moment, if you told me we're going to lose Kieran Tierney for a sustained run of games, especially against someone like a Leicester and everything else like that, where they're going to bomb you on the wing with what they've got, you'd be worried. But Tavares, you're not really calling it. The best compliment you can give Tavares is you're not going, bloody hell, I miss Tierney today. That's the best compliment you can give him. And he's absolutely wonderful. He's a wonder. Every single one that he bought in the summer so far haven't given us anything that we go, oh, you let us down. The only thing you could really touch on is how bad White was in the first game when he got out-jumped, and when Lokonga messed up for that goal against Palace. But he's learned. Well, that's it. That's what I was just about to say. And again, you know what? You forgive them that because you're like, they're young and they won't do it again. If you look in the first half against Leicester, Ramsdale plays a ball out and it's terrible. and it gets pounced on by Soyuncu, and he played it into Iheanacho, and then he tapped it round, and he even went, lads, yeah.
But he redeemed it.
Yeah, exactly. And he put his hands up and went, yeah, mine. And he's like, yeah. Did he make a bad pass after that? No.
But do you know what that does? You immediately rectifying a mistake. That must make your confidence just skyrocket.
Exactly.
And not only yours, but everyone's around you, because they're like thinking, "Shit, what's he done?" And all of a sudden, oh my God, he's saved it himself.
And again, it's what you said, Michael, about the accountability. Because he's like, I am not making myself look like an it. I mean, you mentioned it in our WhatsApp group, and it's a great little clip. When in the second half, every goal kick he's doing, they're doing, your shit. And then he joins in at the end. He's giving it back because he's like, no, I'm not having you lot today. He's like, did you see, look at my save in the first half from the, I'm not having you. So, that's it. It's nice to have not only good players, but characters, good characters. I think that speaks volumes.
I think so. I'm very hopeful and positive. I think there is something very special building up here. And yeah, you alluded to the fact that Ben White didn't have the greatest of starts, but look how quickly he's rectified that. Mm-hmm. How many players, you've got to remember the price tag he had on his head. It's not, it was a big one. He was a big media signing. So the spotlight is on him. And
all that as well with Saliba being on loan and people thinking he's better than him. Yeah.
That's right. And you've got to remember some of our greatest players ever didn't start off very well. They were very slow to start, and then they ended up becoming almost gods in our eyes. So,
can you imagine what Twitter would be like? If, at the start of Thierry Henry and Robert Pires.
Oh, darn!
Look at Robert Pires. Probably would have had to have been sold from the backlash he would have got on Twitter before he scored against Spurs, and then started. He started from there.
That's right. Even Bergkamp was slow to start.
Yeah, he was quiet. Yeah, for the first couple of games.
So you've got to take all these things into consideration. As long as we improve, and learning is the best thing. If you learn from your mistakes, and they do that, we forgive them, because at the end of the day, we all love the club, and we're happy to forgive. So no, I think it's great stuff. So we move on to Matt the Champ. He's called The Game on Twitter. He's a good friend and a good friend of the pod. He's saying, it's kind of the same again, but we're going to answer all of them. Has anyone's views changed or softened on Arteta remaining as manager during the recent unbeaten run? And do you think this recent patch of form is more down to him or the players? And then he says, I know Guna Sentienes, I don't know who the hell that is, has been particularly anti-Arteta protester from day one. So I think we've kind of touched on it, Matt, to be honest. I mean, I think we answered it, all of us, Michael and James at least, in the last question. So thank you for your question, and thanks for that little dig. I do appreciate that. So let's have a look at John Brown. John Brown, another good friend. He said, Kieran Tierney is in a good fight with Nuno. So here, we just touched on it, for the left-back position. Competition for places is good. It's a good thing. At the moment, I wouldn't drop Nuno. What do you think?
No. Can't change a winning side.
No, I agree. Michael, what are your thoughts on that?
No, he's got the shirt, so he stays in. He stays in, and he's got to. When he comes back in, he's got to be at that level, the level that he was in when he first came, and you can't take it off. To where is it now? He's been immense. Just offers us a little bit of different dimension, coming inside as well with his runs. Rather than always outside on the left with Tierney. Maybe when he comes in, he'll start maybe doing bits like that. But no, he's added a different dimension. And touching on again what James has said. Yeah, the levels so far of the players that have come in has been great. So yeah, it's. Everything's going well, there is definitely something building, and if the levels remain the same as they are, I mean, again, if Tavares keeps on playing like he does, then why should you change it? The same with Ramsdale with Renault. People were sort of saying that he might come back in for Derby, North London Derby, and he didn't, and the rest is history. So you can't have any favourites or whatever. We can't go down that road again, because that happened before.
You never know.
That sort of led us to where we were.
I'm sorry, James.
No, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think at the end of the day, you have to play your best players. At the moment, as much as I love Tierney, you guys know how much I love Tierney. I want him to be captain, etc. And I thought it was great. I thought this season he's just been a teeny bit off the boil. I think he became a little bit predictable, just as what you said, Michael, as he was just literally going straight up. But Tavares has got the power and the pace to almost like do something slightly different. And I think, what would it say to the player if all of a sudden, as soon as Tierney's back, he's dropped? You know, that you've got to remember how that affects players mentally. And I think Tierney's he's got a great head on young shoulders, and I think he'll understand. And I think it actually, if anything, that competition will enhance him, and he'll think, right, I'm really pleased for you, boy, but I'm going to get my place back. So it'll start pushing him more and more. And this is what we want. We want at least two players in each position to be just as good as each other and pushing each other further and further, because that will make us a winning championship team, I think. So I think, no, I'm going to agree with both of you. I think that Tavares has to stay.
It's interesting because if you want, you could go to Liverpool and you could do the 3-5-2, like what, Scotland and that what Tierney does there, and you can play Tierney as the left centre back in the 3 and have Tavares as the wing back, which would be quite interesting because you've got a potential there for a good overload on Trent, who would be coming forward on that right hand side. So if you want a counter, you could have an option there. I don't think I would like us to stick with what we're doing against Liverpool. I think Matt should stay how we are and let's have a go. Let's see. But he
does not broken at the moment.
No, but he does tend to play that big. I think he played a 3 against Chelsea at home, and I think he played a back 3 as well against Man City away, didn't he? So in these bigger games, he does tend to revert to type of a back 3 or a back 5.
But it didn't work.
No, exactly.
And now he's got a formula that seems to be. Yeah, sorry.
He might have to try something. He might have to try something though against Salah on that side as well. So, that guy's on fire at the minute. And, so you might have to, what he likes to do in big games, and he likes to try something different, play 4D chess. Oh, he's not expecting that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this because he's not expecting that. And, he might do something like that, So, I think he might have to go with a 3 against. And if you've got someone like Tavares like, on that side with his power, running power, it makes, Alexander-Arnold think about, twice about going this way because this guy's just going to breeze past me.
Yeah, it potentially pushes him another 10 yards back. Yeah. Yeah,
it could be a massive difference. So, So I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a big switch there, to be honest.
No, that's a fair point. No, that's good points. Okay, so thank you, John, for the question. We move on to DJT_44, I think it is. He just commented saying that for me, Kieran Tierney has to work his way back into the team. Only way to continue to build that competitive spirit within the squad. Everyone needs to know it. They get a chance and they take it, and then they will play. So, essentially what we were saying. So thank you for that comment. We move on to Sam I Am. She's actually been on the pod before a couple of times. She's a fantastic person and a good friend. And she is saying, it's quite a long question, so just bear with me. So she's basically saying, do you feel there is a benchmark place for us to judge whether or not Arteta has had a successful season? So this is a good question. Do we expect Champions League, European League, FA Cup, ? Or maybe just an overall better improvement in our play? And on the flip side, what about an unsuccessful season? So we've got to have a go at that one?
Yeah, for me, I think if he ends anywhere below 6th and we don't go as far as possible in the 2 domestic cups, for me, I think the cup that we're playing in at the moment, the old League Cup, the Carabao, whatever you want to call it, Coca-Cola, whatever you were brought up with, at Littlewoods. So I want to win that. The last time we won that was 93. I was born in 91, so I don't really remember it. So I've never seen us actually properly, I've never seen us win that trophy. So I would like to see us win that. And for me, okay, it gets you Europa Conference. Do I want to be playing in that? No. But the fact that it's over in, I believe, January, you've got a trophy in the cabinet, winning breeds winning. I think you go all out to win that. I think if we win that and get potentially top 6, and then, maybe if we do a cup double, that'd be brilliant. Not saying we will, but if we do, that'd be absolutely amazing, on top of finishing top 6 as well. I think that's a bloody great season. But I think if we end up with nothing and he finishes below the top 6, after spending all that money as well, he's had a stinker for me. He's had an absolute stinker, and it'd be very hard for me to justify keeping him. And it brings back all that negativity that we said we're not going to go into, so I'm not going to go into.
Yeah, I agree. I think last week I said top 6 for me. Edu didn't want to commit. Saying that the European target was the target. It's got to be Europe. It's got to be, for me, top 6, a cup. League Cup. We've got Sunderland in the next round. We've got a nice draw at home again. So don't want to jinx it, but we look like we're in the semi-final. I think, is it 2 legs still?
Yes.
Against someone. Probably someone a bit tidy.
Is it the? We play the winner of Spurs West Ham, don't we? I think that's how. Or have they not decided how that's done yet? That's what someone on Twitter said. So I was like, okay, right, yeah. Okay. I'm like, cool, bring it.
Bring it. It's fine. Yeah. So So hopefully, semi-final. A couple of games away from winning it. Obviously, City out the equation, so that's great. They obviously, we know our history with the FA Cup. A good run in that will be great. But again, it depends on who you're up against and who you draw against and stuff. But for me, top 6 and also an identity, a style of play that looks like where he's built, or we're forged as such, and we can see it, and it's hopefully bringing positive vibes, obviously, to watch, and it's enjoyable to watch. But I think that's as well, philosophy of us being hard to beat, but also like we've got some sort of creativity at the top end with the 2 kids that we've got doing the business still. But yeah, for me, it's got to be top 6. We've got to finish the top 6. There isn't anything that I've seen who we are fighting for those positions that I'm worried about. And the weekend just showed me, the way we went down and took apart Leicester against, Brendan Rodgers, who loves playing against us. He loves, he's still dining out on that 5-1 when they beat us 5-1 that time when Sterling, Sturridge and Suarez tore us a new one, and he's still, giving it the big one after that. So the fact that we went down there, turned him over, whoever else is around Man United, obviously, the other mob, I'm not worried about them if that's who we're really up against to get into that place. Obviously, West Ham look decent, but I think we can be there or thereabouts with them as well. So for me, top 6, man. That's got to be the target, because that would be obviously Europe, and we go on from there. Anything less than that, as James said, it's failure. If you can't have that outlay and have that faith from the board and the time, and not deliver, especially when you've only got the one game a week to prepare with, up against everyone else who hasn't got that. So, top 6 and a trophy would be nice.
For me, it's got to be winning the league. So sorry, we've got to win it. we're not that far behind, Why not? Why can't we win it? Why not? Why not? No, seriously. I mean, the way we started off this season, for me, I really regressed, and I went back to, I don't even care about the result anymore. I just want to see a good performance. It really came down to, I just want to see us perform. And we weren't even doing that. We were showing up and doing nothing. And it was so frustrating to watch. And I just thought, that will be a progression for me. Just see a good performance. But as it's transpired, a little bit of that identity, I agree with you, Michael, but there is a little bit of that identity coming to the fray now, or coming to the fore now. And it looks like there is a way that we're playing. And for me, I'm seeing so much more aggression from the whole team. And we didn't have any of that. It was all very passive and passed backwards and sideways, and they're almost afraid to do anything. We went a few games without a goal. We went a few games without even a shot on target. It was a joke. And now all of a sudden, they're starting to come out again. They're starting to come out of their shell. And I just feel, given that, I agree with you. I think it's definitely a European spot, and maybe the League Cup, possibly the FA Cup, one of the two. But anything less, I think, James, you hit the nail on the head. I think because he's had that money, it will be deemed a failure, and it won't be up to us. It'll be the board's decision. They'll say, "Well, sorry, we've given you two and a half seasons now, and you've had loads of money, and you've not delivered. Sorry, you've not been. You promised us Champions League in 3 years, didn't you, when he first came? So we will be so far away from that. So, but I have good faith.
I hate to repeat my catchphrases, but he's had 24 either signings or renewals. So that is a squad, because you get a 23-man squad and an extra player. And I'm like, if you can't take, they're all your men. So you got nowhere to hide. We all said, they all seem like they're playing for him and everything. They're all your men. If he can't lead them to where we need to be, and I don't even think that's hard. I think any manager would go, I can get that lot into top 6. Maybe there'll be some that go, I could even get them top 4. So to set the benchmark at 6th, I think is reasonable and achievable. But one thing I will just say, just to throw a curveball question out there of my own. I want to say if we get to the final, but I'll be bold. When we get to the Carabao,
thank you, James.
When we get to the Carabao Cup final, are you still sticking with Leno and goal, Pepe, Eddie? Are you sticking with the men who potentially got us there, or are you going? Because for me, wow. I remember Richard Wright played every single game of the FA Cup run, and then he dropped him for him for Seaman, didn't he, in the final against Chelsea? I would do the same. I don't care. For me, I think Leno might be going in January potentially anyway, but I would drop him in a heartbeat for Ramsdale in the final. I'd be like, sorry.
Listen. As much as I grow very fond of some players, as you guys know, very fond. For me, it's still the overriding factor is the club, and it's about the club's success. Yes, of course, I want players individually to do well for themselves, and I want them to be happy, and I want them to be, relishing in any success. But ultimately, it's about the club. And if we get to any final, you play your best players, no matter who got you.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you lot wouldn't have me on if Eddie scored in the final anyway.
No, I think we would have to try and banish you. I don't know if I'm admin rights of that WhatsApp group. I'd have to ban you from everything. So
at least mute me for a couple of hours or days. Yeah,
a couple of hours. I'd have to do about 2 years.
I would dine out on it. I really would.
Let's move on to what I think is the final question. If it isn't, and if we miss out anyone, I'm blaming Jack because he's actually source the questions for us, so it's all Jack's fault. So apologies in advance if we have missed anyone out, and what we'll try and do is if we have, we'll find them and we'll try and mention you on the next one. But
all that earlier about the praise for the people behind the scenes, straight in, blame someone behind the scenes. I love it, Neil. Great host.
Of course, it works both ways, mate. It works both ways. Sorry.
Brilliant. I love it.
So this is from God. I really wish I had my glasses on. I think it's RRA or someone. They've got quite a nice, very funky profile picture. But anyway, no, in terms of it's very red and blue, and I don't know. But anyway,
I thought you said something else then. I was like, I hope it's not them who's answering it.
No, I wouldn't say such things. I'm a good boy. I think he's asking something really, really interesting. So it's a good one. So he's saying, and thank you for the question, by the way. What's wrong with Nicolas Pepe? Every time he's on, he's out of sync with the rest. Too many touches on the ball. Do you think he's holding back? Do you think he's holding back development for other younger players? I'm not sure what he means by that. I'd rather give Martinelli / Reece Nelson that spot. Should we look to sell him? So he's basically questioning what's happening with Pepe, what's gone wrong with Pepe, what do you think the reasons could be, and whether we should be giving another player a chance in his stead. So who would like to take that? Everyone's completely silent.
It's pretty much what I touched upon last week. He's too busy trying to draw the digits of the girls over at in the front row over on the East Stand, I think. No, I think the only thing you can say with Pepe is he's only going to get opportunities in this competition we've just discussed, the League Cup, and obviously when it comes around the FA Cup. And again, unless there's a serious injury to someone, hopefully there isn't, Saka, I imagine, or then he'll get a run in the team. And it's strange because you saw the way he see the clips and what he did for Lille, and the guy was devastating. And it's just maybe the way the team's set up, and obviously a manager with maybe a more attacking philosophy. If you're talking fantasy stuff, you would like Arsene Wenger to be managing Pepe, and imagine what he would have done in terms of the way he developed people who were more attack-minded and what he did to them. And you imagine what, a prime Wenger would do with him at London Colney every day, getting that belief and confidence out of him. I think he would be a well-beaten now. I seriously believe that if you had that sort of manager behind him and someone who devoted that time on him, he would have blossomed so much. And it could be that. It could be just because of the instructions that Arteta has and how regimented he is, and how it just doesn't flow with him. And there are players like that who are more, carefree. They're more, I can't find the word, but they're more, they just like to just, have a little, they've got flair, and they just like to just
express themselves,
play their game.
Spontaneity.
Express themselves. It'd be spontaneous, and I think again, James touched it last week. Yes, it's great the coaching, but you've got to allow a little bit of expression and let them to work things out, and that's what Arsene used to do so much. He used to say so much, I should say, that you've got to let the players work out for themselves. You show them the guidelines, whatever structure, but you've got to let them work it out themselves and let them, solve problems themselves. And I think because he's under a manager who's obviously got so regimented and so focused, it's not connecting, and it's not working. Which is a shame, because obviously we know he's got the ability, but it's just the application and the dedication and the attitude, and taking that accountability again. Actually, your job is that way and going back as well. And he obviously doesn't like to do the stuff going back. He's more, you see it when he loses the ball. You see he's that second slower to react to make that effort, to make that jog, and
he doesn't play well with Tomiyasu. You can see it already. I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah.
And I think
I imagine, it's a shame. It's a shame because you can only see it happening going one way, and that's either going to be alone with an option to sell or whatever, or someone comes in for him.
I think he's just completely void of all confidence as well. I think last year when he was coming in and he's performing, and yet he couldn't get the games over Willian still, regardless of everything that Willian done. He obviously had the incident at Leeds where he got completely thrown under the bus by the manager for what he did. Granit Xhaka then gets a red card, and it's just like, well, that happens. So it's the mixed signal that he's getting there. And I just think he's a confidence player. You can see he's a guy that I think he needs an arm around him. He needs to know that he's loved. He needs to know the fans, love him and everything. But there are times where, and I've heard, players that have played for the club say sometimes the badge can weigh too heavy. And I think the pressure that, none of it's his fault, because, we all saw what happened to the people that were involved in the deal to get him in. They're no longer here. So there was clearly some foul play or manipulation, if, allegedly, before we get thrown off the air, at hand with that signing. And I just sadly don't think that he's going to live up to what everybody believed when we signed him. I really want to persist, because I believe the talent is there. I believe that the player can do what we need to do. It's just at the moment, especially with the competitions, we're not in as many competitions, we're not having as many games. The young players that have come in have completely eclipsed him. They just have. Because with Saka, he does both. People are saying, okay, maybe I want to see Pepe on the left because he's probably better there than he is on the right. But on the left now, you've got Smith Rowe, who, like I said before, I've questioned what he's like going the other way. But he's doing, you look at the heat maps for the guy, he's doing the doggy work there. Then he's bombing forward after Aubameyang flicks it on and scoring. So there's just no way in. I mean, Odegaard's another one. People are like, oh, when's he going to get games and everything? He'll get brought on. Don't worry. And he's talented enough, and there might be a time where he starts again. So there will be, but in terms of Pepe, I can't, I just cannot see unless, like Michael said, and I don't want it to happen, unless there is a catastrophic injury to somebody. There's just no way in. There's just no way in.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think they're great answers by both of you. Fabulous. So thank you for that. Thank you for the question. But I agree. I think he's almost been left behind. They have excelled so quickly in the last few games. It's almost like ordinarily it'd probably be a starter, probably one every 2 games.
Yeah.
But now it's like they've got players that are doing what Arteta wants them to do in his way, in a very good way. So where's the space for Pepe? I feel bad. I think you're right, James. I think he's got such good raw talent. He has got raw talent. Sorry, and it would be a shame to lose him. But if it's not going to work for him, and what Michael you said earlier, it might just Arteta's style might not just be suiting him, whereas a Wenger style could have. It just could be one of those things where we have to cut our losses and say goodbye, and hope for the best for the player, because he comes across as a decent fella, and it's just what it is. What it is. It's one of those things. So I think that's the end of the questions. And as I said, if we have missed anyone, I really, really apologise. We'll try and find any if there were and see if we can answer them in the next pod if that's possible. So I think what we'll do, just very quickly before we do predictions for the game of the weekend, we just will do a little takeaway from the Leicester games. It was such a good game. Just each of us, if whoever wants to start first, just what they took away from the game, just very briefly. We'll do predictions and then we'll wrap up the pod. So who wants to go first? I'll go first. There you go. Decision made. So I thought, like I said earlier, I thought it was a game of 2 halves. I think it was a very important win because we performed well against Villa. And I've always likened, this is really stupid, I know it sounds stupid, I've always likened football almost to like tennis, where you're serving and then you break. And I always like the break to winning it away from home. And we did that. We got the result against Villa. It was a great performance. We sustained it for 80% of the game. So we kept our serve, and then we had to go and break serve to potentially a very difficult side, being Leicester. And I think we did it with aplomb. We played really well from the get-go, and then we showed all our attacking flair at the start. Saka had a great made a great run right at the start, which could have led to a goal very early on. We started as we meant to go on for that first half, particularly. I just wanted to quickly say that I thought that Johnny Evans should have been sent off. I thought that was a blatant red card, because there was another game where the red card was given, and I don't even think that was as harsh, that foul. So
there was 2
again. Yeah, well, there you go. So
you had the Laporte one, and then you had the one for Konsa, and like you said, that they're even worse. The one from Johnny Evans is worse.
It's disgusting. I mean, it's so blatant. I mean, and this is where all my conspiracy theories come out, and I shouldn't let it happen to me, but I do, and I was disgusted by that decision. But anyway, it didn't change the game, thank goodness. And so there was that incident. I just thought Ramsdale. I need to say something about Ramsdale. What I took away from the game is how immense this player has become in such a short period of time. Also, with some of the other signings who, by the way, are unbeaten. So great signings, unbeaten still. Long may that continue. He's got everything. He's quick, he's agile, he's commanding, he's a leader, he's vocal, he's good at the air, he's good at using his body. He saved. He had a variety of saves, if you think about it, in one game. He used his body in one. He came out off his line quickly to stop body check. Another one, I think there was Lookman, there was Barnes. The amazing free kick save from Maddison. And even that save, he still had to follow it up, and he did. Partey then took it off the line, so credit to Partey. I just thought Ramsdale is a phenomenal signing, and I still am going to stick with my guns, and I'm going to say now that he is going to become the best keeper in the world, without a doubt. So there you go. That's my takeaway from the game. Ramsdale. Off you go, lads.
Well, I unfortunately I missed the game. I was taking my little girl to play her game of football, but obviously I followed the chat in the group and saw the highlights, and obviously, yeah, everyone gave crazy about Ramsdale and his saves, and yeah, just everything about the guy. He's brought such a feel good, energy, to the team and to the fan base. Everyone's sort of, you see on Twitter, I apologise, I was wrong about him or whatever. But yeah, it's not about that. It's just, again, it's just, people who are doing that, fair play to them, because you get others who say, I was always thought he was, the bee's knees, whatever, and they didn't. But it's just for the fan base together, obviously the wins, but it's just seeing the performances and seeing people actually caring about, playing or representing the club and actually enjoy representing the club and putting everything forward. There was a clip I saw, I think, from a corner where Ramsdale seemed to be going for Johnny Evans, and he seemed to be getting pulled back by a few of the players, and just that, and that say, we're not a soft touch anymore. You can't mess around with us anymore because we're not having it. You look at the size of the team. All people, you look at it. Tommy Asu, over 6 foot. You got Gabriel over 6 foot. Ramsdale, Party. It goes on. Obviously, Aubameyang, he's like a rake, but he's over 6 foot. All of a sudden, the heights there, and the old, go back to the old days. When there used to be the Highbury Tunnel and everyone used to lose the game already. It's just little things like that. Seeing that there's a belief, and whether that's Ramsdale gets it because he's British, maybe he's a British keeper, he gets it. British keepers are generally bonkers anyway. There's probably something wrong with them, but he seems like a really jovial, really, really good guy. Comes across so well in the way he talks and everything, really humble. But there's this drive for him to do well and want to improve and everything, and you can't knock that. And it's just great to see the highlights. I just wish I was able to watch the game before, but we just got to keep it going when we play at the weekend against. I call them the Expendables because they're basically mercenaries. Watford. I mean, you don't know none of these players who these players are. They've all come chasing the Premier League dollar. They all come over chasing the dough. You don't know. You look at their lineup. I was like, who's that? Where are they getting from? They're just mercenaries, man. They'll be gone in half of them. We'll be gone in January, and it's such a weird club. But anyway, no, great result. I know I predicted a draw, but no, absolutely delighted we turned them over. You sent the clip, James, of the celebrations at the end of the game, and Maddison. I bet you Maddison wished he could sneak into the dressing room. He looked longingly into the dressing room.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he was literally glaring. He was glaring at the Arsenal players as if to be like, yeah.
That was amazing. Yeah, he was proper looking as well. He's proper lingering, looking as he was walking past. Yeah. Oh well.
Michael, as you touched on the Watford game, do you want to give, before we move on to James's takeaway from the game, do you want to give us a prediction for Watford?
I'd say we win that 3-0. Watford a funny side, man. They obviously they turned Everton over big time, didn't they? But I'd say 3-0. Might be a bit cagey because Ranieri, I like Ranieri, but I say 3-0. And say Aubameyang to score.
Okay. James, your takeaway, please.
Yeah, I obviously, like I said, I missed the first half, but I've watched it all back and everything else, and he's probably going to love this bit. Jack, for months and months and months, spoke about how Lacazette is building these attacks and how we should build that front around Lacazette. Obviously, that was before Aubameyang went on this little run. Obviously, he didn't score in the last game, so it can all change. Opinions are allowed to change before people start. There is one certain person that doesn't allow you to have your opinions change. Your favourite friend and Jack's brother. But he's hilarious. He's got to come back one day. He really has. But for me, I think Lacazette was absolutely pivotal again, as well as Ramsdale. And, we've praised a lot of the back line, but Lacazette did a really, really good job. I mean, Smith Rowe goal comes from him being a nuisance, really. And then they try and clear it and it lands it. And it's a brilliant finish. So, long may it continue. And then Watford, I was going to do 3-0, so I won't copy Michael. So I'm going to go 4-0. And I'm going to go with Lacazette to score first. It's one of them. Fantasy, Danny Ings is supposedly out. I know you did well at fantasy. Was it this weekend or the weekend before, Michael? I know you got the most points in my league, I think, even last week or the week before. I can't remember. You smashed it. So Ings is going to have to go, and I don't know whether to get Aubameyang or Lacazette. It's one of them. Which one do I pick? I think I'm going to go for Lacazette.
Okay, thank you, James. Interesting. Thank you for taking my prediction away from me. Brilliant.
Sorry.
So now I have to change it.
You're gonna have to go 5-0.
Well, I've always been optimistic, haven't I? Christ, I don't want to say 2-0. I think we've been too generous to Watford there. No, all right. What the hell? 5-0. 5-0, and I'm going to go for something different because Gabriel surprised me. So I'm going to say Ben White will get his goal. So Ben White, 5-0. Come on, you Gunners. Yes, that's what I'm going for.
That's one, we're not sponsored by any of the betting apps, but if you were to put 5-0 Ben White any time, I reckon you would rake it in if you were to put that on.
Mentioning the rake word again, that made me laugh.
Yeah, it was great.
Sorry,
it's one of them. What do you call it? Like backhanded compliment. It's a polite insult. Yeah, it's great.
That was so funny. Apart from Abu Dhabi, he's tall, but he's a rake. That really tickled me. So anyway, look,
he's not wrong.
He's not. Anyway, well, maybe Jack will emerge as the Phoenix, rise from the flames, and come back and regain his hosting responsibilities in the next one. So we don't know. We'll wait and see. I'm guessing we will pod after the next game. I'm not sure when, but we will try and do it. Might be a different combination of people. We'll see again. It depends on people's timings, etc. And I just want to say one more thanks to you guys now. So James, thank you for coming on. Michael, thank you for coming. Always a pleasure. And remains to be seen how we do against Watford. Let's see which one of us get the smashing right, whether it's 3, 4 or 5. Hopefully a clean sheet is the important thing. A win and a clean sheet would be fantastic. So that's it, guys. Thank you for joining. Hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, come on, you Arsenal.
Go on, you guys.